Another scorching day here in North Carolina. That's right, it's another hot day, and there's no doubt that this is going to be lasting for a while. Matter of fact, I was talking to my good friend Zach Robinson, and we were thinking that this might be just one of those hot summers that'll be lasting for a while. I know a lot of folks are glad to be getting out and about more now that there's been more vaccinations, and more people are definitely getting out and about and enjoying the kind of fine weather that we're having, but of course trying to stay safe by still wearing the mask, and of course making sure that they're going to places where they are feeling protected and all of that. So on this particular edition, I'm glad to say that I'm bringing in a old friend that I've known for a while. He's been involved in comedy, involved in improv, involved in a number of other things. And you know, one of the shows that we have here is The Gamer's Den with my good friend Jatovia McDuffie, and I know that Wafeeq and him have worked together on some projects as well. So definitely a man that has been doing some great and outstanding work here in our community, and he's also got a program that he does, which is the Good Old Boys Network, and definitely it might not be the standard ways that folks think about the Good Old Boys and all of that. But we're going to talk about a number of things going on in society, how he's doing, because it's been a minute since I've seen him, and definitely looking forward to this great conversation. So let me get ready to bring in Wafeeq and see what Wafeeq's got going on in his life. I know that we definitely got sports happening in the world. A lot of folks have been paying attention to the NBA, and I guess Philadelphia did not know that they were going to run into a buzzsaw in Atlanta, so they definitely did not know what they were getting into in that match, and definitely that's what happens if you think that you're just going to roll over and the number 5 seed is just going to die down and all of that. So we've seen that that's not happening, and they've definitely got a series on their hands. If they thought that they were not in for a match, it looks like they are in for one now. So what are your thoughts? How are you doing, Wafeeq? It's been a minute since we've seen each other. Like I said, I know that you had been doing the improv and doing the comedy, but like everybody else, we've all been locked into the houses for a number of months, but now we're starting to get out and about, and they seem to think that this pandemic is under control, but then we look at places like India and we're like, maybe there's a second wave, because, you know, I'm always waiting for that other shoe to drop, whatever is going on in life. So hopefully we won't have that other shoe drop and we can go on moving forward. But how are things going in your life? And definitely, what are your thoughts about that basketball game? Because that's what I was doing earlier, was watching a little bit of that. And be honest, I was rooting for the 76ers because Doc Rivers went to school with me. So he's got his work cut out for him if he wants to defeat these young Bucks.
Yeah, he definitely does. From my understanding, the best player for the Philadelphia 76ers, Joel Embiid, is hurt right now. Yeah. He might have to miss a few games this series. And if that is the case, they are definitely in trouble, because the Atlanta Hawks are for real. Trae Young is a superstar. He's box office. He has everything that you're looking for. He's small. Yes, he is on the small side, but I would pay money to see him play anytime. He reminds me of a Steph Curry light. I would say Steph Curry for the I hate to say the poor man Steph Curry, but if you don't have $220 million, you could probably get Trae Young for about $80 million and be almost as good.
I'm still trying to figure out where you get all this money from, because, like I said, I've tried to come up with like a nickel or something just to get a burger, and you over here acting like that kind of money is easy to get your hands on. So if you got that secret, please let me know. I can go get that $80 million and get that Trae Young on my team.
I do. I'll give it to you now. The secret is spending other people's money. So that's all I'm doing. Just spending other people's money.
That makes a lot of sense. And I like that secret. Spending other people's money. You know, that's a classic thing that we should all be doing, is spending other people's money. We got this international crowd here, and definitely what's now called Pod TV, and it used to be called IBM TV, which you see on the emblems and everything. But it's definitely international. We got shows out of Australia, and fans out of New Zealand, and definitely all of the other various countries around the world. So they may not know who Wafeeq is. So if you share a little bit about your background and a little bit about how you even got involved in comedy and improv, I'm sure that they would love to hear that.
Okay, international crowd. Well, then I want to begin by saying Origatu, Assalamu alaikum, hello, good day, Mike, for everybody in Australia. So my name is Wafeeq Zarif. I am a comedian based in Raleigh, North Carolina. I actually call myself a comedian and journalist, Wafeeq Zarif, because the reason I came to Raleigh, North Carolina in the first place is to be a reporter for the News and Observer. And so I was a reporter for quite some time, but you know, somewhere along the line, people stopped reading newspapers, and a lot of us reporters had to look for other lines of work. So I just happened to get into sales, and I also got into comedy because I was doing that for a long time, even before someone gave me some money to go up on a stage and be funny. So I do a lot of stand-up comedy, improv comedy, as you know, and comedy based in the Triangle area, as well as the Good Old Boys radio show on the GOB Radio Network, and Wafeeq Zarif Unleashed on GOB Radio Network TV, which is our YouTube channel.
Okay. Definitely. Sounds like you've been keeping busy, and you have always been a man that has kept busy in a lot of things in that regards. What do you think it is about improv and comedy that draws you into that field? Because I know that I've known you to do all kinds of great and amazing improv, and I'm always curious as to what makes a comedian want to be a comedian. And I'm always thinking that part of it is that life in general is hilarious, and that y'all find all kinds of great material just from what us humans do out in mankind and in humankind.
Well, Mark, I didn't want to get beaten up. I think with a lot of comedians, we find out that we're funny out of some sort of hardship. So whether it's a breakup or, in the case of me, having to talk my way out of a couple fights. So I was always really good, gift of gab, I would say. I remember getting into a scuffle in 6th grade, and a guy jacked me up on the wall to beat me up. And I asked him a question. I said, "Hey, did BB get at you yet?" And he said, "What?" I said, "Because BB was talking about you." And I immediately started talking about some guy nicknamed BB. And I started just talking about some other people. And before I knew it, he had forgotten to kick my ass. So ever since then, I said, you know what? Let me just see if I can stick with this, and I might be able to avoid a lot of fights. So I think a lot of comedians get into being funny out of some type of, I would say, I hate to say abnormality, but if you're not the most popular person, you're not the most good-looking person, you don't have a lot of friends, you tend to talk to yourself, maybe even answer yourself. And maybe someone says, you're either funny or crazy. Which one is it? Because if you say crazy, we're going to have to put you in a padded room in a jacket that forces you to hug yourself. So you might say, okay, I guess I'll be funny, and you stick with that.
Now, that makes a lot of sense. They told me that it was okay to talk to yourself as long as you didn't answer yourself. But I sometimes think that you need to answer yourself as well, because you sometimes can be your best companion and all of that. But I do know that the old saying is that it's okay to talk to yourself, just don't answer yourself.
Well, brother, look, I have had full-blown conversations with myself where I played 4 different characters. It wasn't just me. It was me, myself, and I, plus a friend. And I remember my little sister looking at me after 10 minutes of this, and pretty much looking at me and saying, what the hell is wrong with you? And I said, first of all, I don't even really have to explain myself, because you know what? Just because I have a lot of friends and they like to have conversations and you don't, doesn't mean there's something wrong with me. And she said, well, I don't see any of your friends. They're imaginary. And I said, well, first of all, matter of fact, I don't even like where this conversation is going, just because my friends, they are of a certain stature where they can converse and not even be there doesn't mean there's anything wrong with me. So check yourself, because that's a problem with you, not me.
Now, that makes a lot of sense. Now, where exactly did you grow up at? Because I know that you are not a native, as you mentioned, of North Carolina. So you came down here, and I was just wondering what your observations of this home state has been during your many years here, because actually the founders of this network are both from, they're transplants as well, even though they've spent time in other places, but I know that definitely Nick is originally from Florida, and now he's living here and has lived here most of his adult life, and he's well into his 70s and everything. And Kim Calhoun is actually an engineer by training, and she's the one that may have some roots here in North Carolina, but I know she also spent some time in Texas. But what was your impression of this place compared to where your original home is?
I loved it. So I was born in New York City, raised in Columbia, South Carolina by a Southern mother. She went up like pretty much everybody in our family. When you turn 18 or so, when you graduate from school, graduate from college, you move up to New York. Half of us stayed, the other half came back. So my mother was amongst the half that came back, and she brought me down there, and then she had my brother and my sisters, and we grew up in Columbia, South Carolina. And then when I moved to Raleigh, the first thing I noticed was Raleigh is just like Columbia, only it's bigger, more international. The infrastructure is better. The roads are better. I don't have to worry about a Confederate flag being thrown in my face everywhere I go. Maybe, every other block, but not literally every block. It's not nearly as hot. Columbia, South Carolina is blazing hot. We don't get that ocean breeze like Charleston, and we don't get that northern air like Greenville. It's just hot for no damn reason, all that concrete. So I'm like Raleigh, just a little more of an international flavor compared to where I'm from. I still love Columbia. Can't beat home. Home is always home. But I've learned to really love Raleigh and consider it to be my third home after Florence, South Carolina, which is where my grandparents are from. That's my second home. But Raleigh is most definitely, with all its international ways and great infrastructure, amazing colleges here too. That's the first big thing I noticed, because where I was from, we would have, just like most states, you would have the state-supported university. Then you would have the state-supported historically Black college or university, which is where that's where they sent the newly freed slaves to get educated during Reconstruction. And then when they came up with segregation, they said, okay, we don't want you Negroes rubbing shoulders with us, so we'll give you some money so you can start your own school. So I was used to the state-supported school and the state-supported HBCU, University of South Carolina, and then you would always have the engineering version that would be Clemson University, and then the state-supported HBCU, South Carolina State, where my family went to, the majority of my family. But when I came here, I said, okay, what's the state-supported school for liberal arts? They said the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. That's the flagship of the North Carolina school system. Then they said, okay, I said, what's the engineering equivalent if you want to get an engineering degree? They said North Carolina State University. I said, okay, now what's the HBCU? Oh, they said, take a pick. You got Shaw University. You have St. Augustine's College and University. You have North Carolina Central. I'm like, wait, what? And all these schools are located in the same area. I live pretty close to St. Augustine. You have St. Augustine, you have Shaw right beside each other. Then you got North Carolina Central and Durham. Then if you want, you can say, you know what? I want my daughter to go to a school with just other women. I don't want her to be distracted. Okay, we have Peace College. We have Meredith College. You got 2 all-girls schools. So I was amazed by how many schools are here within such a close proximity. You can throw a rock and hit 5 of them. There's something for everybody, regardless of what you're looking for when it comes to post-high school graduation. Where you want to be educated, you can find a school here for it.
Now, there's no doubt about that. One of the things that I've always been fascinated is, and we've actually been going through some of it here in Durham, is the race relations that exist here in North Carolina. Some would say that they're great. Some would say that they're not as great as they could be and everything. And I know that even with our political action committees, we've been having whole debates between like the People's Alliance and between the Durham Affairs for Black people and everything. So we've definitely been having a lot of infighting, and it's actually cost a gentleman his job, which was our county commissioner. So definitely there's that political infights that go on, and I know it goes on in Raleigh as well. So were you fascinated by that when you came by, or were you used to that coming from South Carolina, where y'all had Strom Thurmond, just like we had Jesse Helms?
Right, right. So it was familiar to me because I was very used to Strom Thurmond. I actually interned at the state newspaper in Columbia when he died, and I was surprised to know that they had the front page ready for his death in about 10 years in advance. They were just literally waiting for this man to keel over. So when I got here, I was put on the city desk at the News and Observer. So I had to cover a lot of the stuff at the State House. And I said, wow, so it's pretty much the same everywhere. The same infighting, the same petty party line squabbles that just hamper everything and bog down the whole system, the same red tape. And I was watching a show at that time. I was really big into The Wire on HBO. If you haven't watched that, I suggest folks watch it. Get yourself HBO Max. And what I noticed is, and I was watching this in person at the Capitol building in Raleigh, and I would see how in The Wire, they really just showed the failure of a major American institution, because that's what the show is about. It is the failure of a modern day metropolitan institution, and the institution they happened to pick was the city of Baltimore. And I was seeing the same thing happen in the Capitol building here in Raleigh, and I said, man, no wonder we don't get anything done. It's a whole lot of party line, red tape BS.
And then when they get things done, we get these great movements, and then we try to figure out where the movement has gone after it started. I'm a big fan of Reverend Barber, and I know he's been doing the Poor People's Campaign, and he definitely did the Moral Mondays and all of that. But now there are even people now that are wondering, where is the continuation of that? Because I know a lot of times what happens is you'll get some great activities, and then there'll be no follow through. So I was wondering, are you seeing enough follow through in our civil rights movement? I mean, the same thing could be said about the George Floyd protests, because we saw a lot of protests around George Floyd, and now that we're at the year anniversary, we're not necessarily seeing the follow up that folks would like to see. And I was just wondering your thoughts as to whether we're seeing the follow through or whether we need to do more in regards to things like police reform and things that might be related to that.
Yes, and yes, I am seeing follow through. I'm seeing movement. There was a time where you got to understand, my mother told me when I was in high school that the only reason the Confederate flag was put on top of the Capitol building in Columbia, South Carolina, is because the schools were forced to integrate. So she said as soon as they forced, I forgot the person's name, first woman who went to Clemson University, first black woman. She said when they did that, that's when they put the Confederate flag on top. So she remembers a time when it wasn't there, but I didn't. I grew up in that. So to me, the idea of the Confederate flag not being on top of the State House was a foreign concept until it actually happened. So now I can say, wow, I've lived long enough to see it come down. And I see the same thing right now in a post-George Floyd murder world. So I turn on TV and I'm seeing Black Lives Matter. Okay, I'm used to seeing that because I'm watching BET. But now I turn on NBC and I see Black Lives Matter. And I think that in and of itself shows some progress. Things don't get done overnight. And by overnight, I mean 100 years. I'm sorry to say, but we're probably not going to see the fruits of all of our labor just because of how much infrastructure, how much bureaucracy we have to go through. But we can see some, the fact that we're seeing people who are not black. I'm seeing white people in middle America TV shows, primetime television talking about Black Lives Matter. I'm seeing Amazon, that was big. Amazon put it up on their website. They actually took everything that had Washington Redskins down. From you couldn't order anything from the Washington Redskins. Amazon did that first. And I remember thinking, well, Dan Snyder's never going to get rid of the Redskins as his logo. Right. Well, now he has. So we've seen some progress. It's slow, but I mean, I think this 2020, after 2020, I think we should really take a step back and reflect on what we have accomplished. Because if you're in your 25 years old now, you probably don't notice it. But if you're in your late 30s and 40s and older, you remember thinking, well, Dan Snyder's never going to stop saying Washington Redskins, but now he has. NBC, ABC, CBS, the primetime networks, they're never going to embrace the Black Lives Movement, but they have. The Confederate flag's never going to come off the Capitol building in Columbia. but they've actually taken the Confederate flag out of the flag in Mississippi. I mean, come on, Mississippi. So a lot of stuff has happened. So yes, I have seen the progress. Now, do I think we need more? Absolutely. But I think that progress is going to have to begin in your home. It's going to take individual families to instill these principles that are behind the Black Lives Matter movement into the family infrastructure to really get things shaken, because otherwise we still run up against the same hard rocks that are in politics that have been getting paid one way for the last 50, 60 years, and they know there's money behind that, so why should they change unless we make them change?
Now, that makes a lot of sense. I definitely agree with you on that. I was actually in a clubhouse room because I became a clubhouse member after they decided they wanted to go into Android and everything. But one of those rooms was actually talking about reparations. And I was wondering what Wafeeq's thoughts are about reparations, if this is even something we should be trying to pursue or not. Because definitely they were talking about it, and they were one of the major reparation groups, and they were definitely encouraging everybody to get involved in the reparations fight. But I was just wondering if Wafeeq thinks that this is something that can happen, or is it like one of those pie in the sky things that we will never ever see in terms of some actual dollars?
Well, I'm not going to say it's a pie in the sky, because first of all, the fact that you said Clubhouse is on Android now, that in and of itself is the number one thing that we can go to say, okay, we're making progress. Because I never thought that would happen in my generation, my grandkids' generation, or my great-grandkids' generation. That's news to me, first and foremost. But how I feel about reparations is this. Well, why not? Everybody else is getting reparations of some sort. You told the red-skinned man who was living in the plains and using every part of the buffalo to get up, move out of the way, because God has determined that the United States of America should stretch from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean. So get up and go live on this reservation, or else we'll kill you. And you did that, and you said, okay, we're sorry, we were wrong. Here's federal funding for casinos. Here's federal funding for your reservations. You'll have autonomy on these reservations. We'll leave you alone. Okay. We go to the Jewish people. All right, you got done wrong every which way from Sunday. Okay, there's a plot of land that you would like to take in the Middle East. Okay, we'll make this. We'll call this homeland, and you can come here. Okay, we did you wrong. Anytime somebody says or does anything remotely, not even against, but remotely controversial against a Jewish person, they're going to get canceled. Okay, that's part of the reparation. All right, that's fine. But if we can do that for everybody else, why shouldn't we do the same for people of color like myself, Black people, who were enslaved and built the infrastructure of this country? I understand the argument that, well, Black people have already received reparations because they live here. They've been fully incorporated into this American society. And we have a lot of infrastructures that have now catered to Black people. They're in sports leagues and everything else. But I feel like we could say the same for everybody else who's getting more. So I would be in favor of some sort of reparation.
No, I definitely agree with you on that. Definitely could see some reparations coming down the pike. And one of the things, and one of the groups that has been getting reparations to some degree is the Black farmers. And I was wondering if you thought that was enough, because part of the conversation that was going on in that room and everything was the feeling that it wasn't enough, and that too many of our Black farmers had their land removed. So they were glad to see the money coming to the Black farmers, but they also saw that it was going to other groups as well. So it wasn't going exclusively to the Black farmers, and it also might not be enough since we've lost so much of our land in history. But what are your thoughts about this stimulus package that is out there for the Black farmers, and is that enough, or do we need to have more activities in that regard?
I like it. I think it's a step in the right direction. I like it a lot. I come from a family of farmers. My great-grandfather, he acquired 40 acres and a mule from the Young Pecan family in South Carolina. There's the pecan empire down there, and that's our family's land. So my family definitely knows farming. I like that. Now, I don't have a problem with other people getting some of the money, because, if the money is there and we can use it, I'm not going to say, all right, we're the only ones that can get that money. So that part doesn't bother me. as much as the rules and regulations that are attached to how the money can be used, and I would say the effort behind the money. It's one thing to just give someone money. All right, here's some money, figure it out. But if the people don't have the education, they don't have the training, they don't have the wherewithal or the know-how to figure it out, just giving them money is not going to solve the problem. I feel like that's kind of a cop-out. Okay, here's some money. My part is done. I'm forgiven. Go on about my business. I think there needs to be the money, followed by the training, followed by everything that farmers who are outside of this group already know and already get. Let's get all of that training. Let's get all that education, and let's get all of that infrastructure, and let's get all of that follow-up continually beside the money. And when we get that, I think it'll be enough.
Yeah, and speaking of follow-up and continuation, I know that on Zach Robertson's show, which he does here, Funk Music with Zach, he was talking about how he and his guest at that time felt that Kamala Harris has actually been put in a trick bag because they've given her a lot of very difficult situations, like the border situation and a number of other situations as well. So I'm just wondering your thoughts as to whether she knew what she was getting into and whether she can handle this, because it sounds like if you look at her list of things that she's supposed to be in charge of, it's quite a few major tasks.
Yeah, it is. It is a lot, but honestly, I don't think it's any different from any other vice president, just because I feel like we're always going to look at our person as getting the short end of the stick. I'm pretty sure if you were a big-time Trump supporter, you probably said, all right, he inherited a mess. Vice President Pence inherited a mess. And we said the same thing about Barack Obama. He inherited a mess. Joe Biden inherited a mess. We said the same thing about Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton inherited a mess. Al Gore inherited a mess. So I think a lot of that has to do with just own personal bias of feeling like your person, your guy, your woman is inheriting all the bad because you want to make sure they get all the credit if they do fix it. But I don't think she's getting anything any different than anybody else has gotten. I do think she is equipped to handle it. She is a very smart woman, a very smart person. She didn't get to where she got by not being smart. You know, she went to Howard University, I would say the flagship HBCU in the country, but it is still an HBCU. And there are some people who will look at that paperwork and say, historically black college university, okay. But despite that, she's fought her way through that. She's made what she's made, and she's gotten to where she's got. So she's more than equipped to handle that.
And just a couple of weeks ago, speaking of Kamala and everything, we celebrated Mother's Day. And I know a lot of people are using her as an example of a role model for the women out there. And of course, coming up will be Father's Day. But in terms of Mother's Day, and I know that you've mentioned a couple of women that are very important in your life, I'd love for you to share your thoughts about the role of women in society and the role of women just in your own life. Because I know that in my life, my mom is definitely a big time supporter of what I do, and definitely is a person that I can even lean on, even well into my more older years. We'll say those middle-aged years, as I'm getting ready to approach the big 5'9" and everything. So definitely, she's still a supporter and still somebody that I can depend on. So I was just wondering your thoughts about the role of women, in particularly in your life.
I still don't believe you're about to be 59, but okay, if you want to say that, I don't believe it. I got you pegged more like, I'd say late 40s, mid 40s or something like that, man. That melanin is holding up in you.
I appreciate it. I was born in 1962, so I definitely appreciate it.
Okay. Well, paradise lies at the foot of the mother. That's what I was taught. That's what I believe. So you can have a lot of infrastructures, but if you don't have the mother, then it's just not going to go. So I have my show on YouTube, Wafeeq Zarif on YouTube. Well, Wafeeq Zarif Unleashed. And it's on the GOB Radio Network, GOB Radio Network TV. And you can download the podcast on gobradionetwork.com. But I put out a video yesterday in which I compared the family structure to a cup of coffee. And the reason I say that is because I think that the father is the cup. The father holds everything together. The drink is inside the cup, and the mother would be the straw that stirs the drink. Well, you can't have anything without the cup. If you take away the cup, the drink spills out. Now, you could operate without that straw. The mother is the straw that stirs the drink. You could operate without that straw, but would you really want to? Because if you take away the straw, the flavor, everything settles to the bottom. The ice comes up. You got a watery mess. All the flavor settles to the bottom, and the drink becomes stagnant. And the kids are the drink inside the cup. You can look at it as that's what we're building. That's what the point of us being here. If we don't have anything inside of our cup, why are we walking around with an empty cup? What's the point? It looks kind of weird, right? But you see the importance of this straw being there to stir everything around. You want to take away the straw? Okay, I guess you can do that. But it's a whole lot harder drinking a milkshake without a straw than it is with a straw. That straw serves a very important fundamental purpose. And the mother is the foundation of all of this. Paradise lies at the foot of the mother. If I think back to all the women in my life that have made a difference, I have to go to first and foremost my mother. She's the one that put the foundation into me. She instilled into me my core belief system. Then I go to my grandmother. My grandmother actually had a different core belief system than my mother, but it was still overall the same principles, the same duties, and everything just worked better with them being in the picture. I can't even imagine, and I know some people don't have the luxury of having their mothers, but I feel like if you have a choice, the mother has to be there to drive this family unit forward and keep it going. I don't know about you, Mark, but it's crazy, man. I hate to admit this. I keep trying to fight my mother on this because I was living by myself for a little bit, and she would say, you need a woman to come in here and give a woman's touch. And I actually lived with my stepdad for a little bit, with just the two of us before my mother moved in with him, and we had our house the way we wanted it, and we thought it was fine. And then she came in, moved this over here, moved that over there, put that over there. And I'm like, what the hell is she doing? This is too much. It's too much. And then when it was finally done, I took a step back and looked at it, and I said, oh, it does feel a little more comfortable and homely in here. This is kind of nice. So the mother brings that design eye as well.
Oh, no, she definitely brings that design eye. There's no doubt about that, and I would totally agree with you on that regards. The other thing that I was thinking about as I was talking to you and everything was, we've got a lot of other groups that have been fighting their own version of hate and everything, be that the Asians that have gone through a lot of things, part of that because of the pandemic and where they claimed the pandemic came from. Notice I said claims that it came from, and also the Latin American population, as we're seeing more and more people coming across the border. So for those other folks of other nationalities that are going through similar struggles as us, what would your message be to them if you were able to talk to some friends? And I know you've got friends like I do in all of these different ethnic groups, but what would your message be as to how they can do better and conquer the things that they are dealing with?
Unionize quickly, get organized, get moving quickly. Don't just talk about it, be about it. Take account of all of the ways to afford change around you, whether it's a voting booth, whether it's just getting out in the community and taking measures into your own hands, forming neighborhood watches, things of that nature. So get organized quickly and have a plan. Now, it also helps to have a spokesperson. Dr. Martin Luther King, classic, great spokesperson. It also helps. Rosa Parks, classic, great. James Brown, even. It also helps to have that. That tends to be something that people can identify with your movement and look to. It could be somebody in entertainment. It could be just a regular person. Hell, George Floyd is actually turned into that person now. Yep. So having this, having the spokesperson that people can view as the face of your movement, the face of the change you want, is big. And being 100% organized, and whether you like them or not, get into politics, because politics makes the rules. Politicians make the laws. All right. So I've always admired this about the Jewish people. They figured this out very quickly. Get involved with the politics, get involved to where the money is, because when you are in there, those two places, you can get things changed to be the way that you want. Don't be afraid of the politics. Don't be afraid to learn about where the money goes. Find those two avenues, get involved, and watch. you'll get what you want.
Now that makes a lot of sense. What do you say to folks that actually, when you say have your spokespeople and all of that, would argue with you that maybe you need to have spokespeople that are out there but have multiple ones, and also have an organization that is not top-heavy dependent? Because one of the things that people have said that they love about the Black Lives Matter movement is that nobody is 100% sure who the organizers are. Therefore, if you eliminate one of the top spokespeople, the organization will still keep on going because they're not sure who else is in that leadership train.
Yeah, that's classic. That is classic. You know who else has that same business model?
No, who else is that?
Al-Qaeda, the Taliban. They have the same business model. It's funny, you know, there's no head to cut off if you don't have a head. So that is a valid argument. That is a valid point to make. I just feel that, and I hate starting sentences with "I just feel" because I feel like it's about to be some emotional stuff, not based in logic. But I find that when you do have a spokesperson, that spokesperson can galvanize people more than not having a central head. So there's some give and take to that. Maybe get a spokesperson, but protect the person immensely so they don't get taken out. But if you're gonna go without a spokesperson, I understand that too. Having no central head means you can't find a head to cut off.
That's very true. Now, the other thing that's going on this month and everything is that this is the month, and it's another organization that's been getting a lot of news and everything, or another group that's been getting a lot in the news. But this is the month of Pride. So what is your thoughts to folks that are trying to live their life any way that they want to and everything, but are catching flack? You know, here in North Carolina, we had that infamous bathroom bill 5 years back, and a lot of people were very upset about that. And I was sitting there going like, I don't go to the bathroom to look at folks. That's not like a designated tourist location or anything of that nature. But I was just wondering your thoughts about Pride, but also some of the crazy laws we've seen geared toward the LGBT community.
You know what's funny? To be honest with you, man, I really didn't even know that this was Pride Month until a few years back. I remember going up to New York City for the Del Close Marathon. It's a 72-hour long improv comedy festival, right? 24 hours a day. And it's located in Chelsea. Well, it was when it was going on, Chelsea, New York City. Now, if you know anything about New York City, if you are gay and when the stuff hits the fan, and you need a place to hide, run to Chelsea. It's like San Francisco of the East Coast, right? I once heard a comic say something one day, because Chelsea wasn't always like that. It was used to be a rundown neighborhood, and the comic said that I guess a lot of gay men came in and said, "Oh, this just won't do," and they cleaned Chelsea up and made it look great, right? So we're there in the middle, and the festival is always during Pride Week. I didn't know it was Pride Week, so I'm there and I'm just looking around like, what's up with all these rainbow flags? I didn't even know the rainbow flag had become the symbol. So I'm just walking around the city, walking around Chelsea, right? And I'm seeing men walk around me with these Pride shirts. And I said, yeah, that's right. You're proud to be New York, I guess. That's what you're proud about, New York. Next person, Pride. I'm like, yeah, that's right. Be proud about being I guess you like walking on this street. That's what you're proud about. So I had no clue about what this Pride stuff was until I found myself in a nightclub in Chelsea, and it was the middle of the night, and I didn't know it was a gay club. I just thought that a lot of guys like to go there, and maybe the women were going to be coming out a little bit later. And I sat down with some people, and they said, "Happy Pride Week," and I was like, "You damn right, I am super proud." And so I spent the rest of the weekend telling everybody that I was out and I was proud, with no idea what it was really talking about. But you know what? I didn't burn up. I didn't catch on fire. I didn't come down with the terrible disease. I survived the experience. So if I could do that as a straight man, I guess, you know what? Maybe, just maybe, if you want to just be yourself and walk outside and say, this is who I am, accept it, surprise, surprise, maybe everything will be all right. So I feel like, you know what, just be yourself, man, and just let the chips fall where they may.
No, I agree with you on that, and I know that I have the same attitude, and I don't know what your thoughts are because I know a little bit about your own religious background, but I have the same thought about religion as well because I'm of the opinion that, if I want to be spiritual, let me be spiritual. If you want to be Baptist, let you be Baptist. If somebody else wants to be Muslim or Buddhist, let them be Buddhist. And last time I checked, most of the religions all have the basic same core principles. There may be differences here and there, but the basic core principles of love thyself and love thy neighbor are the same across all of the religions. And that's the way I've always lived my life and always thought about it. But I was just wondering your thoughts, because I know that if I remember correctly, you're of the Muslim background and everything. But definitely, I just think that everybody should be able to practice whatever they want to and not get caught up on the differences. And I do know that there are extremes on all religions, whether that's in the Christian church or in the Jewish church or in any of the churches. There are extremes on both extremes, the far left and the far right. But most of us meet in the middle.
You know what I also feel too, Mark, and to just piggyback on what you just said, you are right? There are some extremes. Now, as we accept one another and as people change and as people put forth their best foot to be who they are, what I would just ask is that we be patient with people who may have known you to be something different than what you are now. So I feel like that extremism can come from both sides. It can come from the people around you who may not be accepting of what you are, but it could also come from the people who are trying to change and put forth a new image or a new belief system or something. So what I mean is, I'm going to speak on the transgender community right now.
Uh-huh.
As you make this switch, as you unveil yourself, please be patient with the rest of us. Because if I slip and call you Mark and you want to be known as Mindy, look, I'm sorry. I've called you I've called you Mark for the past 10 years. I know a couple of people that are going through transition right now. God bless them. They're very patient with me. Now I've come across some people who are not, and I'm thinking, you know what? That's unfair for you to have to put this responsibility on me. I know you're going through a lot, but I'm sorry. I've been calling you David for the past 15 years. Now you want to be called Diana. Please bear with me as I stumble through this. I'm working to calling you David full time. Please bear with those loved ones, friends and family, coworkers around you, because you're not the only one who has to transition. We have to transition too, and it will take some time and patience.
No, it definitely going to take some time and patience. And no way, I have no desire to be a Mindy ever in my life and everything. Nothing wrong with the women in my life, and I actually like women and thoroughly enjoy their company and everything, but do not desire to be joining their ranks. At least that's not in my future anytime in the near future that I can think about, or even in the distant future. If you believe in reincarnation, what I come back as, who the heck knows? Maybe that's when I go and do the transition, if you believe in reincarnation and along those lines. I can tell you that one time, though, and this is coming back to the religious thing, I do remember many years ago dating a young lady, and she took me to her church, and it was one of those fundamentalist churches. And I did feel pressured because as soon as I walked in the door, they were ready to marry us off. And we had not even, I was still trying to decide if I liked her, much less if I liked the entire church family. So I was still trying to decide if I liked her, but the church was ready to marry us off, have us go do missionary work and everything else. And I'm sitting there going like, no, I know you claim that you've got the gift of prophecy, but I have not bought totally into what you're claiming is going to happen, because I'm still trying to decide if I love this woman, much less the church that she's part of, much less anything else that's going on here. So I do know that sometimes folks get a little too carried away with trying to dictate their dreams before you've had a chance to establish your own.
Let me tell you where you messed up, Mark, because
Where did I mess up?
Because my father's side of the family are part of, I would say they're the fundamentalists too. He said that they are the holiness type, right?
Right.
Let me tell you where you messed up. Those people can cook. So I have stepped foot in a couple of those churches too with some people, and I was immediately bombarded with, please go ahead and let us baptize you right now. You're not doing anything in the next 15 minutes. We have some swim trunks in the back. And matter of fact, we have this whole row of women who are available. Let's go ahead and get you married. And I was apprehensive like you too, but let me tell you where you messed up. They had some macaroni and cheese in the back, and it messed around and got in my left nostril, right? And I had to make a pimp decision real quick. And I said, you know what? I can fake it for the next 2 hours because this macaroni and cheese is delicious. And yes, sir, it was. So you messed up, Mark. You better fake it because those holiness people, I'm telling you, the macaroni and cheese they make on a Sunday with the ribs that they make, and they had steak, they had lobster. What am I supposed to do? Say no to free steak and macaroni and cheese? You should have faked it.
No, I did. I think I did a little bit of that. So I did stick around. I did get the full meal that you're talking about, and actually got invited to one of their houses for a later dinner. So I did stick around and try to make the role that you're talking about last for a while. But after a while, I had to let it go because I couldn't fake it for entire months or years. So, for a day or two, maybe even a week, it worked. So I can get with you on that strategy, and I can definitely agree with that strategy. Now, one of the things I've got to share with you that I think our listeners will enjoy as well is that sometimes their shows are a little bit too much like shows, and I do know that sometimes that happens in holiness and other churches as well. I'm sitting there going like, when you go to a church, and this was not that same church, but this is actually near one of the apartments that I've lived in. But when you go to the church and the same old guy goes running around at the same time with the same drum beat hits at the same time, I'm not sure that I'm buying that as a spirit. Because like I said, I'm not knocking it, and I definitely do believe in the tongues and also some of the other things that happen, including visions and all of that. But there are sometimes that it's a little bit too much of a production. And I know that one of those churches I went to, it was a production because I went 5 times and the same incident happened at about the same time.
Savannah Grove Baptist Church, Savannah Grove, South Carolina. That's my family's old school church on my mother's side. That's where we came up. My great-grandfather, the one that got the 40 acres in the mill, he was the pastor there. His children grew up there, one of his children being my grandmother. That's all they ever knew. When I was a little kid, we weren't even Christian. My mother and my father, they accepted Islam right, I would say just before I was born, right? But I'm sorry, in the Echoes house, 707 Chase Street, if you set foot in this house on a Sunday, you're going to church or the hospital. It's one of the two. You better have a bullet hole in you somewhere or you're going to church, right? So we had to go to church anyway. And so my brother and I, we would we pretty much halfway grew up in that church, even though we weren't even Christian. And it used to blow me away, man, the coordination with the Sunday service, because it was like clockwork. There was this old guy who would do his dance walk. He would just kind of move. When the choir got hype, he used to always get up and he would start doing like this, like back and forth. And he would start at the back of the church and dance, walk his way all the way up to the front and moving at this pace right here. He looked like he was at least 85 years old and would just do this all the way to the front and come all the way back. And I used to be terrified at 10 years old that the choir would finish the song before he had a chance to get back to his seat. And I was on pins and needles watching him like, oh my God, please hurry up and get back to your seat. I don't want you to be embarrassed and be stuck out there. Little did I know at the time, until I was much older, that the choir director was always looking back and taking cues from this guy, and the choir was working with him. And I went to a choir practice with my grandmother, and this man was at the choir practice. Why? Because he was part of the show.
He's part of the show, no doubt. It's part of the show, and definitely I just wish that folks would be honest about the fact that sometimes it is an actual show going on. Now, I can relate to what you said about your parents or your grandparents wanted you to go to church. That was about grandparents, particularly on my mom's side and everything. But there was something else that would go on in society that if you touch the TV at that time, you might come back with a nub of a hand. And that was that my granddad was into wrestling. And we're talking the old school wrestling. So if you thought you were going to turn the TV to watch your favorite cartoons or something else, if there was a wrestling match on, that was not happening, because he was going to make sure that he got his wrestling in. And I'm sure there were some sports like that even in your own family, whether it was wrestling or whether it was baseball or whatever it was. But you were not touching that TV when that was on.
Mm-hmm. Now that we've said wrestling for our international audience, let me translate that for our domestic audience. Mark is talking about wrestling. That good old-fashioned wrestling right there. That's what they do. Now, they wrestle in the Olympics, but on Saturday mornings back then on the WWF, they was wrestling. That's what that was. Ricky the Steamboat Dragon, Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant. You talking about all of these races? Yes, sir. Wrestling was going on in our house. I didn't know so many elderly people were into that until I started getting older and going to other people's homes, man. I was at this one, my granddad's friend, his son would cut hair, or his grandson would cut hair, and his grandson and I were the same age, so he would cut my hair, and his grandma would be in the other room screaming at the TV, "Get him, Hulk Hogan, get him," and she would be in there cursing, and I mean cursing like a sailor, boy, just kill him, Hulk, kill him, Hulk. Kill him, host. I'm like, oh my God, Miss Johnson, what are you saying, boy? But don't let me curse around it. Then she would want to wash my mouth out with soap, but she would be cursing in front of the TV, man. So no, you weren't going to change that channel when some wrestling was on with your grandparents. Or how about this one, Mark? Tell me, the China cabinet. Could you ever get into your parent? No, sir. You see this? I got a scar right here on my finger that came from when I pointed at the China cabinet too long. And my grandmother, she cut me. She pulled a knife out and cut me and said, "Boy, don't you even look at the China cabinet." The China cabinet was for special company only, which is why when my last grandparent died, my father's father in Virginia Beach a year ago, when he died, his wife had already passed on. When he died, I made a point to go into the China cabinet, and I went into the China cabinet and I videotaped it. And I had all my cousins stand there and bear witness. And we all put our hands into the China cabinet together because we knew when our grandparents were alive, there was no way on God's blue and green earth that any kids were going to put their hands on that China cabinet and mess up grandma's good china for any reason whatsoever. So that was a special moment indeed. And I think I felt my grandmother's ghost reach out of the grave and smack me for a little bit when I did it.
I'm sure she did. And that China cabinet is actually something that's hereditary as well, because one of those China cabinets that you're talking about, it is now sitting in my mom's house because they just said she was fortunate enough to get that China cabinet because, it's not going to just go to, there's certain things that might go from the estate into the flea market, but if the family can have it, the China cabinet is not. It's going to somebody in the family line. So, like I said, I know Mom's got one of the China cabinets. I think that my Aunt Julie here in Durham has got one of the other ones. But definitely the China cabinet, if you can help it. Now, there are some things that happen in society that cause it to make it to the flea market and everything, or the different kinds of stores that exist, whether that's the flea market or the swap kind of stores. But if the family can help it, it's staying in the family lineage. So I know they've probably already got, I know Malik, my younger brother, has already got dibs. I think on the China cabinet that's in Mom's house. So yeah, the China cabinet's not going to go anywhere, and I'm sure that my nephews are going to try to get it after Malik. So definitely.
And Mark, I'm going to tell you, you might be about to turn 59 years old, but you bet not be thinking you grown and mess around and touch that China cabinet.
Exactly. No, you touch that China cabinet, you in deep trouble. Like I said, I remember one time you talking about how folks can be and everything. Mom, my brother has my two nephews, but he also has in the past adopted, and I had foster kids. And I remember one of the foster kids was a young lady, and she brought her boyfriend. And, the boyfriend was coming, I think this was a family outing. It might have been Thanksgiving or something like that. But he thought he was going to, talk out and cause all kinds of trouble in this family event and everything. And I just remember Mom gave him that look. And with that look, I'm sure you got it from your parents. And like I said, he's not even related to the family, but it was that look that basically said, I might not have brought you here in this world, but I know how to bring people in this world, and I definitely know how to take them out of this world. And I just remember the entire trip that we had, because they lived in Raleigh, the entire trip we had from Rocky Mount back to Raleigh and everything, that boy never spoke. And I think he was like about 17 or 18, but he had gotten that look from Mom, and he remembered that look. So I think Malik was even trying to get him to have conversation, and he was looking at us like, I am not speaking until I get out of this car and I get in my house, because I'm not sure she might reach all the way from Rocky Mount and pop me upside the head.
That's what they do, man. That's called parenting. That's a village raising a child right there.
Oh, that's totally. That village raising a child is something we need more of, and we definitely need more of that and everything. Well, I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. I'm going to bring up that one video that I said I was going to bring up. So if you can share a little bit about this, and then we'll get ready to get out of here after that. But I'll have to have you come back in the near future, because I love this conversation, and you've been truly amazing. And I've loved you had me chuckling just about the entire time. But I'm going to see if you got some comments about a serious event, which was the George Floyd event. So I'm going to bring up a shared screen, and you can share a little bit about this as well. So I'm going to bring this up, which you did on your show and all of that. So definitely get ready to pull this up. Yep, there it goes.
Okay, so this is a video that I made, I think it was May 31st, 2020. This was May 29th through the 31st, 2020, downtown Raleigh, North Carolina. So this is when we started protesting in Raleigh soon after the murder of George Floyd. A lot of people were upset. So the protests happened mostly during the day. Downtown Raleigh, very civil, very peaceful, very assertive protests. No problems whatsoever. And they would continue until about dusk. And so I was out there in a few protests recording things, but then I noticed that as the nights wore on, a different element came in, different completely than the protesters. And this was the element that people would associate with rioters. So these were the people that you saw on the news that night running into the Kimbroug's furniture store in downtown Raleigh, and setting CVS in downtown Raleigh on fire. And I actually live 3 blocks from that. So I decided, you know what? I'm just going to stay out here and just walk home. And then I decided to go home real quick and then get a car because I got a little hungry. And I decided to see if in the middle of this riot, I could find Popeyes, because the Popeyes chicken sandwich had just come back. And I said, wow, I'm hungry. So let me see if I can get directions to Popeyes in the middle of this riot.
Hey, getting directions to Popeyes sounds like a wonderful idea. And I remember that Popeyes sandwich, and it was a classic. So I enjoyed that Popeyes sandwich. And actually, I might need to get one right about now.
So this is just a disclaimer at the beginning, because my partners tell me they don't want me to get anybody canceled until after we make a few $1 million. So I had to put this on in an effort to preserve our future earnings and preserve the bag. I want PETA to know no chicken sandwiches.
South Carolina,
were harmed.
Beaufort, North Myrtle
We're
Beach,
harmed
New
at all.
York City,
We like that.
Florence, Columbia, and back here in Rock Hill, South Carolina, and the Charlotte, North Carolina metropolitan area. We are the good old boys on the GOB radio network with the Mario Washington,
Q Kittles,
Black Trump,
Grand Wiz,
yes, back in
Raw
the house,
Dog, no headphones.
back in the house once again, talking about that action.
As you can see, people had strong opinions.
Yeah, it's very strong.
State Capitol Building, Raleigh, North Carolina. Dateline, Sunday, May 31st, 2020. Raleigh, North Carolina. This is apparently real, folks. So that's in front of the CVS. Anybody tell me where Popeyes is on New Bern Avenue? I have not seen Popeyes. How you doing, sir?
Anyways, you're they're gonna keep up on y'all. All y'all support to be out here because we've seen the bullshit and we know it needs change.
Is upset he can't find Popeyes either. I understand. The chicken sandwich is bad. Fellas, do we know what the Popeyes is on New Bern Avenue? Those guys were very helpful. Popeyes is on New Bern Avenue. I'm looking for the Popeyes. I'm trying to get directions to the Popeyes on New Bern Avenue. I was told to ask a police officer. Purified drinking water. That's the stuff that comes out of a sewer and they cleaned it up. Does anyone have natural spring water?
Yeah, the bad thing is that I remember that there was a subway that somebody had gone
I don't
to and
feel
they were
like
carrying
it's
their
a lot
guns.
to ask to be prepared at the protest march. It's not and have natural spring water. I mean, I don't understand it. Like, I got tear gas. And they hand me a purified water. Do you know what that is? That is summer water that they purified. Why do you not have natural spring water at your protest? How do you not do that? Did you not prepare? My eyes hurt, and you hand me purified water? Natural spring water, man. Obviously. Natural spring water. They have class. They're not messing up Marbles Kids Museum. That is for the kids. You leave it alone. We know this.
But the government built it?
Yes, we'll tear that down. I just need Popeyes. Oh, shit. Excuse me, officers. Does anyone know where Popeyes is? Officers? Anybody know where Popeyes is? Anybody know what the Popeyes chicken and biscuits is? Oh, Popeyes? Yeah. He said make 2 lefts. I made 2 lefts. That's what he said. He said it was going to be over here. Okay, Bailey, that is not Popeyes. That's not Popeyes. Where's Popeyes? They're outside a little bit, down the way. Okay. So you said, okay, he said go straight, right? Down the way. Where's the damn Popeyes in this city? Where's the goddamn Popeyes? Seriously, where is Popeyes? They said Newburgh Avenue was this way. I made 2 lefts. He said 2 lefts. This don't look like no Popeyes. That was not Popeyes. This dude lied.
He lied big time.
Terrible directions. Okay, he said make it right. He said make it right. He said straight ahead, right? Oh, shit. Ya sabi huna shema ya sabi sabura shelo ya. Hold up, they're about to close.
Y'all sit out.
Yeah, you're welcome.
They love us, man. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you very much.
But we got that actual factual as only the good old boys knows how to bring it to you. And this week,
are you tired? Because you look, I don't know if you're tired or high or what.
I'm neither. But we'll be back next week, and we will see you on the radio next week.
And we out this funky thing.
Follow me, Wafeeq Zarif. Follow me at Wafeeq Zarif on Instagram.
Cool. So that was the Popeyes journey. And as you was doing that whole show, I was thinking to myself, I wonder the folks in Palestine and Israel, where they're doing all this bombing, are trying to find their popular restaurant as well in the middle of a bombing. I can see that. I can see somebody going there trying to find it. You know, the Palestinian brother is trying to find whatever their popular restaurant is.
Yes, and it was closed when I got there. They were closing. They wouldn't serve me.
That's just unfair. That's just totally unfair.
I thought about playing the race card for a minute on that particular night, and I said, nope, I won't do it. Not gonna play the race card on that one. Well, Wafeeq, I definitely want to show that. It's been a thoroughly great conversation. I'm going to have you come back on in the near future. You've definitely had several times where folks saw where they can reach you and everything, but I'm going to definitely have to have you come back on a semi-regular basis because I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and you've just made me laugh, which is a good thing. So I've thoroughly enjoyed our time together and look forward to us coming back and doing this again. I might need it next week after this crazy business conference because I'm going to be dealing with business executives for about 7 days straight. So I might need some comedy next week. Yes, I will be happy to be back anytime. And thank you so much for having me. All the listeners around the world that are listening, thank you so much. Please support Marc's show. This brother is doing very good things in the community. Make sure if you all ever come to Durham, North Carolina, please go to the Hayti Heritage Center. Check out a show. A lot of good stuff going on there. When you get back home, make sure you go to YouTube, go to GOB Radio Network TV, and look at all of our content. My specific show is Wafeeq Zarif Unleashed. You could also download our podcast like the GOB, like the Good Old Boys Radio Show, and every other show we got for all types of genres, sports, music, all that. You can download all the shows on gobradionetwork.com. And of course, if you want to reach me specifically, me on a personal level or whatever level, follow me at Wafeeq Zarif on Instagram and Twitter. And of course, I'm sure Mark's going to display my name. Yep, you can see it right there. Spell, you see it? I can see it right there. Spell my name just like that, but put an @ sign in front, and follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Make sure you watch Wafeeq Zarif Unleashed on YouTube.
Sounds great. Looking forward to it. And who knows, maybe we'll catch together and get to a Durham Bulls game, and maybe we can catch up with our good buddy Jacoby. I know he missed a game this week because they had an incident where one of the baseball players decided that they could not figure out a way to get out of the way of the baseball ball. So like I said, he got popped upside the head, but I understand that he is in stable condition, so hopefully he will be recovering, even though when I talked to Jacoby, he's like, that man is not playing baseball ever again a day in his life, and I do not blame him.
Wow. I don't blame him either.
Yep, not at all. So let me put on that lovely intro, outro computer thing, and then we'll get on out of here. Thanks a lot, Wafeeq, for being my guest, and I look forward to having you back on in the near future.
Thank you, sir. All right, listeners. Arigato. Good day, mate.
Let's go!
Are you ready?
My coach, Barbara H. Smith. Why did I hire her? Because she's the best.
Barbara H. Smith is a powerhouse. She just walks in the room and grabs your attention, and she does that in a way that just makes you feel loved and like she's paying attention to you. She cares about you, and she wants to see you be your best self.
The coaching that I am receiving from Barbara H. Smith gives me confidence.
She was able to dig inside and find the passion that was deep within me.
Barbara's energy is one of the reasons that I had to have her as my coach. I love the way she is real with people.
The reason I felt like I needed a coach was because I have some big goals and I needed to build my confidence. I knew that Barbara could help me do that.
One conversation with Barbara H. Smith and she will be able to tell you what it is you're missing. I felt that I could trust her.
I would definitely recommend to get coaching from Barbara H. Smith if you feel like you need to level up your confidence. She would just help you feel like bold, like you can take on the world.
She has really shown me who I am. She has changed my mindset to a place that I know that I am more powerful today than I would have ever been if I had never met Barbara Smith.
love to introduce somebody really awesome. He is a master of training other speaker, and he is a great speaker because I saw him speaking, and he hardcore. He looks like athlete. He looks like a fighter. But when he starts speaking, he speaks with a real warm heart and really touch people's heart and really fascinate people.
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs and square holes. They're not fond of rules and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them or disagree with them, glorify or vilify them, but the one thing you cannot do is ignore them. Because they change things, they push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones that do.
Reuben West communicates by connecting with his audience when he presents and when he's sharing a key message. Being able to connect and communicate your instructions clearly is a masterful skill.
The ultimate professional. Reuben is a guy that not only teaches a message but also demonstrates the message. He's helped me to craft my art, and I'm sure he'll help you to craft yours.
Very accomplished international speaker, being able to just connect to any audience, no matter where they come from or what kind of people they are. He helps you and serves you in every kind of way to elevate you as a speaker, and I highly recommend him.
He is a people's heart connecting scientist with using instrument of your voice and your appearance and your heart to touch people's heart.
His communication is unmatched. I'm Australian, he's American, and it really makes no difference as to our culture and where we have come from, because his message, the way he communicates it, is from humanity.
Find a way to take the next step. Thank you.
It is a gem, tucked away near a forest, a place where the lost are found. It is a gift of wholeness for those who are ready to receive it. A secret place where peace can be found in stillness. Where you can finally stop fighting to survive and just breathe. Just breathe. Where accountability corrects and the word help is not a cuss word. It is the place that was thought of before you ever thought you needed it. It is where forgiveness starts and healing begins. Well, we are taught that when we put our hands to work, we can create something. As we uprooted the weeds in the garden, it was a reflection of our lives. As we uprooted disappointment, as we uprooted pain, as we uprooted being traumatized. Because God doesn't deal with the surface. He gets to the root of it. We laughed. We shared tears. We shared our stories. We shared our fears, our dreams, our visions, our heart. We were more than just mothers. We were broken women trying to figure out how to become whole again. It became a place where homelessness became hopeless until we reached the bridge of wholeness.
See, being in business, regardless if you're a non-business or any type of business, is about connecting. It's about hearing new information that can drive you forth. It's more about coming together with people with like minds in order to make your business grow.
You don't wake up wanting to be mediocre and just do just enough. You want to excel. You want to be a master in your craft. You want to take it to the next level. So it's not going to happen by accident. So you have to be mindful and think of what can I do today to help take me to the next level.
The truth is, your life will only change when you get new information. Your life will only change when you move forward with another level of thinking. This expo, is about new information and moving your life to another level.
Labs to Go is your vaccination destination for students, teachers, nurses, or anyone wanting to get first-time, seasonal, and booster immunizations. We also offer titers to ensure you're immune to vaccine. At Labs to Go, there are no doctor orders or insurance needed. We can come to you because we are Labs to Go.
Get your vaccination at our office, or we can come to your business, school, or even go to your home. When you need to know, call Labs to Go.
Producers, directors, I met designers, and then everybody says, "Oh, this is my 6th year." And "Oh, this is my 4th year."
Shout out to New York. We're in New York in like 7 hours.
Oh my gosh, yes, we have a 6:58 flight. So
we gotta go home. We gotta go.
We gotta go.
Yeah. Let me tell you something. Every single person that's come through the store has spoke so highly of you, and what a great event this is. Yes.
I'm representing DJ Darryl, who is a platinum producer. He did the hit track for Tupac Shakur, Keep Your Head Up, Snoop Dogg, Keisha Cole, Nick.
Hello, I'm Bill LeMay, and thank you for watching Community Matters. We hope you'll continue to watch as we discuss issues facing our community and provide you with the resources and information needed to find solutions. Welcome. The Black Business Expo is America's biggest business-to-business trade show. It's also a conference and networking event for business owners, entrepreneurs, startups, and anyone that works for a corporation or who is inspired to start their own business. The event will be a little different this year due to the COVID, but it's still on beginning November 9th. We're joined by Dr. Eric Kelly, CEO of the Black Business Expo USA. And it's good to see you again, man.
Hey,
you're looking
man.
good.
Yes, and you know, I watch your show. It's awesome. I check you out all the time. And for people that don't know about your show, they need to know about this show.
Are you running for office? Oh, you don't have to say
no,
that.
but I'm telling the truth.
That's very
Sometimes
nice.
people don't tell the truth, and that's what I do.
Well, let's talk about the Business Expo. It is different, but just for the folks who are watching now who may not know, what's it all about? How did it get started? And what motivated you to get so involved in this?
Well, you know, it all started back in the 80s with my grandmother, who came to me with an idea about bringing business together, but more importantly, to do scholarships for kids. When you think about my journey, I had an opportunity to go to school on art scholarship, and she thought that was just too cool. And so once I graduated and started an advertising agency, she brought me an idea to do the Black Business Expo. And so we've been doing it for over 25 years. We've given out about 25 scholarships, and I'll tell you, the business owners and the corporations that participate, they have a ball. Because what I do is I do the advertising, the marketing, the PR, and all of the information, because most companies don't have large advertising agencies. They don't have large PR agents or either large marketing agencies. So the Black Business Expo is a platform to allow them to come to a show that allows them to do business. This year with COVID-19, it's a lot different.
Yeah.
Many people are at their homes. And so after getting Zoom-atized, I call it Zoom-atized.
That's a great way to say it.
When you go to a lot of these meetings, you find out that a lot of times people are at home and they turn their Zoom on, you see their picture, and they just listen to what's going on. So I had this idea. I said, well, you know, the Black Business Expo this year, since we're going to do it online, why don't we do something and call it the Black Business Olympics? And what we're going to do from 8 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock at night is to train business owners on how to do more business.
That is so cool. Now, refresh my memory. Was this a one-day event or a weekend event in the past? And now I know you've expanded it to, well, it's a week-long event, isn't it?
Yes. It was a one-day event. The Black Business Expo was being held at the Marriott downtown. We would do about 300 business owners, about 5,000 people. And now what we are able to do is a little bit more than 5,000 people, because the platform that we're going to utilize is WebEx, and we can do 1,000 people a day. And so that's 7 days a week, about 7,000 people. But more importantly, we're going to train people about their business, because that is what I call a weakness in business. Sometimes you're in business, you're doing business, but you don't have a chance to work on your business. And that's what we're going to do this year.
Well, there's a lot to cover here, and COVID not only changed your expo, it changed the way we do business. And I'm assuming you're going to address that with business owners. I mean, what are the challenges today versus what it was, 6-7 months ago?
Well, the biggest challenges for people like me, who like to get out, who like to talk to people, who like to go to meetings, who like to, I call it press the flesh, talking to people, finding out, are they excited about business? Because it's easy to be in business, but are you excited about what you're doing? And so the COVID-19 has kind of pushed a lot of people home. And while they're in their homes, they have to pivot to figure out, okay, how I'm going to do a business. Our restaurants out here, they took it bad. A lot of the restaurants took it bad. But keynote speakers took it even worse, because speakers, the business is to go to places and speak. And one of the things that I've seen is a lot of the speakers who are doing speaking engagements, and even entertainers, they can't go to the big audiences now. So how do they build their funnel of business? And so with Zoom and with WebEx and with GoToMeetings, that's the only way. But really, you can't sell your book. You really can't talk to people one-on-one to find out whether or not they're a prospect, whether or not they're sales, or whether or not they're just talking.
Well, you also mentioned the kids, which is a part of this, and the scholarships. How does that work this year for folks who are participating in this and getting money, of course, to the kids and scholarships?
Well, one of the things that I talk about all the time is the why we do it.
Right.
And the reason that we do it is to raise scholarships for kids. Our biggest challenge this year is a lot of the companies and corporations have been diverted to other things because of the way the world is. But our kids, what we plan on doing is pitch events all week long, leading from that Monday to that Saturday where we actually give out the scholarships. And the kids will pitch online why they want a scholarship. Now, one of the things that one of my board members mentioned to me that we're going to change is the kids who get the scholarships, which are laptop computers and up to $5,000, what we're going to do is we're going to have those kids to look at starting a business as opposed to just going to school. Because a lot of times these kids, we're finding a lot of kids are starting business while they're in college to earn them some money.
Are you kidding?
Yes.
They're starting that young? That's awesome.
Yes. Well, not only that, I talk about the cell phone, the smartphone that we have now.
Right.
And a lot of people don't realize the smartphone that we have now is more powerful than the computer that the president had in 2010. So our kids are going faster, more rapidly than we were going. And if you got a telephone, laptop, computer, you can go into business and make millions and millions of dollars. You no longer have the gatekeeper. You can go on Twitter. You can go on YouTube. You can touch people now. Where in the old days, you had to call the secretary, talk to the secretary had to set up the appointment. Then if something happened and you didn't make that appointment, it's 2 or 3 months before you can get an appointment. Nowadays, you can go on somebody's Instagram, Twitter account, and their LinkedIn and DM them, send them a message, and they will respond. That's a whole new world.
Oh, it is. And it all happens so quickly. Don't you go anywhere, and don't you go anywhere, because there is so much more to talk about. The Black Business Expo. It's happening despite the COVID, and it's doing it in a much better, bigger way. Stick around.
I am from Washington, D.C., but I was raised in Durham, North Carolina. I came to Durham when I was about 5 or 6, and then I traveled back and forth to D.C. because it's where my people are from. One of the unique things about my family is my mother, she's also an artist. She does quilting, and she does a lot of artistic things. And then my son, he draws with both hands, his right hand and his left hand, like I do. So that's kind of a family trait. And then my other son, he's a videographer, and my daughter, she works, she's a regional vice president for Sunglasses. When you start out drawing and sketching, you want to continue to explore, each avenue. I do pastels, I do pen and ink, I do painting, I do acrylics. I haven't done oils yet. But I try to do all facets of art. What I say to a lot of times to people is, you can't put yourself in a box when you're an artist. You have to explore. And over the course of my life, I've tried to explore different mediums. I also do sculpture as well. I choose my subjects by the intensity that they have in their faces, or the intensity that somebody is moving, because I do more than portrait drawings. I also do I do abstract, and then I do figurative drawing also. Well, what happened in this particular show is that I started out trying to come up with something that would be a little bit different than what everybody else is doing. So I was working on a Barack Obama show, and they wanted me to do some paintings of Barack. And so what I did was, because of the deadlines, I kind of did it kind of fast. And then I realized when I was doing it fast, I enjoyed it. And so then I started doing other pieces the same way, and I started to enjoy those pieces also. And so I came up with this particular style. And It's a style of lines and colors. And what's interesting is that when I was in college, I did a show called Lines, Colors, and I talked about the boldness of the blacks, the hotness of the whites, and this is how this has come about, later on in my life. And the colors comes from a lot of the entertainers that I work with, where they wear different colors. They don't wear, your plain reds or your whites. They wear different colors, and so that's also another piece of what's giving me the colors. The subtitle of this show is Faces That Speak Life. That's real critical. Faces that speak life. Each one of these pieces is a life source and a life energy that's being put on display for people that are looking at them. I always say in terms of my art, it's not important that I draw them. It's important what you get out of what I draw. I don't try to just draw it because you like it. People wanted me to do prints. I didn't do prints. People asked me to do different people, but the people that I choose are people that make a difference in the lives of people in the world. So the human landscape idea was, again, as I say, the lines represent your emotions, it represents your ideas, and it represents your journey as a human being. And that's why you get the different pieces and the different looks. And as you notice, I try not to do one look that looks alike another look. And that's what's the most important part of this show.
Welcome back. We've been talking about the Black Business Expo. It all starts Saturday, November 9th online. Yes, it's virtual. And we have Dr. Eric Kelly, CEO of the Black Business Expo USA, with us to talk about all the workshops and all the special guests. And it's always fun to get together with you. We talked a little bit in the first segment about COVID and how it's changed things. Let me expand on that. There are challenges, but you're going to be addressing that, and the speakers are going to be addressing that during the expo.
Yeah, we have a young lady by the name of Letitia Nicole, I wanted to get it right, who survived COVID. She works in the health industry. So those are the kinds of things that we're going to talk about. What you need to do about this whole COVID. It's unknown. We don't know. I'm reaching out to a couple of doctors from Duke to do some panels to talk about the COVID-19 situation. But more importantly, as I said before, our speakers are really out there still beating the pavement, but they're beating it on Zoom.
Well, and for the businesses, their whole business plan probably changed, right? I mean, with the COVID. If they participate in this expo, what do you think they're going to get out of that? Will this expo help them? I don't know. Do you adapt? How do you adapt?
Well, there are three things that you have to think about, first of all. One, that North Carolina is ranked number 8 in African Americans. That's number 1. Number 2, 26th in the country. And then again, $45 billion across North Carolina in terms of dollars in the African American community. I continue to talk about that 8 hours where money circulates in our community. In other communities, it circulates more. You think about it for a moment. If you're a speaker, if you're somebody who pretty much don't exist in the minds of business owners and corporations, this is an opportunity for you to get leads. This is an opportunity for you to get exposure. And more importantly, this is an opportunity for you to give back to the students, to help these students, because we're going to talk about it. The expo is not about an event where people just go to and they just network and they talk. They go because to help these kids with scholarships. And I think that's the most important thing that we do.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. The speakers. Is it 100 speakers? You have 100 speakers? That seems like a lot of speakers.
Yeah, you think about the Olympics, right?
Right.
Okay, and the Olympics have all these nations, right?
Right.
And so one of the things that we're doing is called the Black Business Olympics. And so what I decided to do is to break down 7 days. Somebody say, you're doing a boot camp. No, I'm not doing a boot camp, because a boot camp is a group of people just going together and it's their group. No, we're inviting everybody across the country. And so what we're doing is we broke it down to 7 different days. On Monday, we're doing business to business. And so we'll do things like ABCs of starting your business, business finance, business contracts. Then on Tuesday, we're doing advertising, marketing, public relations, and merchandising. And we're going to talk about first what it is in the first half, and the second half, we'll talk about how to do it. Then on Wednesday, we're doing what I call Social Media Wednesday. And we'll talk about why should you have a LinkedIn? Why should you have a YouTube account? And what they do together. And then how to market on those particular platforms. And now on Thursday, we're doing diversity, inclusion, community engagement, and of course, social responsibility. And we're going to talk about women's issues. Then Fridays, it's going to be really exciting because we're going to be talking about the Generation X versus Generation Z. The young folk, they get a chance to talk about business strategies. Then on Saturday, we're going to do, and I'm just smiling because...
You are smiling. Why? What's happening?
I'm having a great time. We're on Saturday, what we do is we're going to do business and the culture. And we're going to talk about art. We're going to talk about entertainment. And then on Sunday, we're doing black business in the church. Each morning, we're doing the state of black business in North Carolina, nationally, and in government. And one of our keynote speakers this year is George Frazier, who is the #1 networking guy out of Cleveland, Ohio, who's going to talk about business nationally.
I mean, that's amazing. And for participants, they can tune in anytime. They see a speaker they want to. They don't have to show up somewhere. They don't even have to wear pants if they don't want to.
You better stop, Bill.
I am going to stop there. But the point is, you can sit at home and relax, and you can go.
And that's one of the things that we realized during the COVID situation, is that people are not going to just go online and be there visually. They can go online and listen to these great speakers, and we have great speakers. You know, I brought my cheat sheet because I knew I couldn't remember. When you say 100 speakers, we have right now probably about 60 speakers.
That's a lot of speakers.
And we have different areas, and each one of those areas deals with what those speakers are experts in. And I think sometimes when you're running around and you shaking hands and you're talking to people, you miss really what people actually are doing in the community. And this show, Community Matters, is all about the community of Expo speakers today.
Well, the folks who will be tuning in, we're going to be coming up, and we'll in the third segment, we'll talk more about it. But it is about the kids, but it sounds like, my goodness, you really have an opportunity to get invaluable information. Mm-hmm. You can have a great idea for a business, but there's a lot more than just a great idea, isn't there?
Well, when you start talking about starting your own business, getting in business, the small business centers across the state of North Carolina do an outstanding job. A lady by the name of LaShawn Harley, who's the director of Durham Tech's Small Business Center, is a young lady that's working with us, and she does an outstanding job. But there are 55 other directors across the state of North Carolina that we are reaching out to help us with the expo. Then you have people like Natalie Murdoch, who's a state senator, under 40 state senator, who's going to be talking about her business, how her father started her in business. And then we'll move to people like James Stanton, home ownership for entrepreneurs, who will talk about business strategies. And the list goes on and on.
Oh, it sounds exciting. We're going to come back. Don't you dare go anywhere, because the Black Business Expo, it's changed a bit. It's longer and it's virtual. It's online for you. Stick around.
Then you have to believe in it so hard, because people put their shit, their insecurities on you.
Squad made the beat.
My name is Scott Galley, and I'm the CEO of Haystack Industries, and I am a genius.
Hey y'all, it's TSU The Buzz Radio with your host, I am Zaire, also known as DJ Roz, and I am Genius.
genius level talent, and then to apply it in a way that supports that genius level talent.
My name is Marc Lee. I'm a musician and I am a genius. I sing because I'm happy, and I sing because I'm free. His eye is on the spell.
My name is Justice. My genius is music. Genius is coming.
Doesn't mean you have to walk around planting unwanted seeds. Doesn't mean you have to walk around with all the guns.
My name is Mira Moffitt, and my genius is poetry. Genius is coming.
Hi, I'm Celeste Stein, an associate professor of mass communication. Although I have a lot of interests, my genius is actually nurturing and helping others to achieve their full potential. I currently teach at Tennessee State University, where genius is common.
I
am a genius. My name is Gabriel Golden. I'm a student at Tennessee State University, and everyone has a genius in them. So I challenge you to find your genius.
I'm Jaha, Chief of Tonkawa of Texas, artist and entrepreneur. My genius is master building. Master building with what's in my hands or nothing at all. I learned to keep it simple, clear, and concise. Lay a strong foundation in truth and purity, and you really can't go wrong. Allow room for yourself and others to grow. Tap deep. I learned a lot there. Like it's better to steer away from being judgmental. I learned more about my uniqueness. I learned about authenticity, so on and so on and on and on and on. I realized I didn't have to spend my time being in competition because I already won. You don't have to spend your time always competing against me. You're already a winner. Allow yourself room to grow and allow others room to grow. To learn yourself, to learn what your genius is. And to be the best you, to be the best genius that you are. This is our individual journey, as well as our collective journey. And it's not so much that we have to explain ourselves to people to help them to get us, because they're probably not going to get us anyway. You'll know when you struck that genius goal, because you'll freely share, and you'll share it with great love and wisdom. Whatever you want, know it. Be it and do it. Don't be afraid to live it out. Be the inspiration. Be the miracle. Be the dream. Be the love. Be the success. So, what's your genius? Own it. Go fearlessly. We are innately wired with genius. Pay it forward with good intentions. Genius is common.
Put the keys down, Kevin. But I'm gonna drive home. There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving. I guess I have really been looking for love in this dating app. Yep, I'm definitely gonna call a ride home.
When I was your age, I was just like you, fascinated by stars. But now I get to search for life in the universe. Does anyone want to be a scientist now?
I do.
Awesome. We need more girls in STEM.
The Black Business Expo is changing my life. This year, they are giving away laptops and even $5,000 in cash to students just like me. I'm Alexis, and I want to go to college to fulfill my dream of becoming an entrepreneur. Help the Black Business Expo going to www.blackbusinessexpousa.com and also becoming a vendor, a sponsor, or donating.
Hello, my name is Bill Duke, and I'm a film director, writer, actor, producer, and my genius is the God within me and the God that surrounds me. That's the only genius I have. And genius is a common thing.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Chef CJ. My genius is, I'm a caterer / chef. Right now we at a family birthday barbecue. As you can see, everybody's having fun inside. And then on the menu we have the green garden salad. We got some hot wings. We got some curry goat. We also have my famous macaroni and cheese. We got rice and peas. And then down here, we got the hot dogs, of course. Can't have no barbecue without no hot dogs. We got the hamburgers, and of course the fresh corn. Anybody want to book my services, visit the website, www.cjcateringny.com. Genius is common.
Genius is common, the last poet.
What's the coolest thing about your job?
Engineers take the very best of science and technology and solve problems.
Did you know all that stuff when you were my age?
All I knew is that I really liked math and I really liked science.